Good afternoon everyone and welcome to the PWD Newline Webinar. My name is John and I'm going to be running you through some of the key features and benefits of owning one of these Newline RS Plus screens. If some of you out there have got a Newline panel already, I'm sure you'd have seen some of the features I'm going to show you, but hopefully there'll be a few tips and tricks on how to use them maybe a bit more smoothly, or some things that you don't know and make it worth you while watching. So I'll start with these floating home menus that are either side of the screen, one on the left, one on the right. Reason being that they're always in reach for you, and you've got some of your most powerful tools right here, always at your disposal. So no matter where you are, if you're lost somewhere in your file commander or your My Documents and you're not so sure how to get back to the home page, you can always press that home button and it'll bring you straight back here and you can start navigating again. So you can never get lost, theoretically. But one of the most powerful tools that I'm a big fan of is this annotate button at the top. So it's got a couple of features that you can use it for. I'll get into it a little bit more a bit later on when I've gone through some of these whiteboard features. But just for now, as a basic annotation tool, if you hit that, no matter what screen you're on, it will put a layer over the top and allow you to annotate over the top of whatever it might be, making notes. And annotate over the top of that. It will bring up some of the basic features of the whiteboard for you as well. So you've got your highlighter, etc. Again, all which I'll go through later in full detail when I go onto the whiteboard for you. Down here in the bottom right corner is the settings cog, and you've got a couple of different options on there. One of them being auto screenshot. So if you're going through a lesson, maybe you've gone into the browser and you want to make some notes over the top of some information, but you don't want to keep saving all your notes in the file viewer, you can turn auto screenshot off, and if you hit that annotate button again, you'll go back to here, back to navigating around the screen, tap that annotate button, and it'll bring up all your previous notes. So all you need to do is, if you're on a different screen and you don't want those notes, you can clear the whiteboard. However, if you make your notes and you want to save that into the file commander, and you turn on auto screenshot, then you hit that again, take a screenshot of that, and it'll save it into your file commander, so you can keep the important stuff and you can get rid of the stuff that you don't want to need and you don't want to clog up the file commander for you. So that's the annotate button, which brings me on to the next one, which is the whiteboard, which you can either access, jump to at any time. Again, so say you've got your Windows PC here, we've got an ops unit built in at the back, so we've got a built-in PC, but whether that be your laptop that you've got plugged in or your PC, whatever screen you're on, if you hit this whiteboard button, it will always bring you back to this whiteboard, so you can go straight back to your lesson and make notes. So some of the features of the whiteboard, you've got a very basic one here, which is your pen. Newline have made this it's a walk up and easy to use whiteboard. It's very simple and self-explanatory in terms of what these things do, but how you use them, you can do some really cool things with them. So the pen, for example, is, as it says, it's just a pen. However, they've got object recognition built into this screen, which means that the screen will recognise if you're using the fine nib of the tip of the pen or the back end of the pen, which is thicker. So if I select the highlighter with the back end of the pen, I can do all my normal notes using the thin end, but then if I flip the pen around, I can highlight with the back end of the pen. So my partner's a teacher, she really likes that feature, so she can make a few notes, whatever it might be, on her work that she's teaching the class, and then highlight certain points just without having to do that, save that extra click that you need to do when you're going through. So again, really simple, walk up and use, but a few tips and tricks that you can use it for, just make it a little bit smoother. That works exactly the same with the highlighter, so whatever you select with the thin end of the nib will be the thin end, whatever you select with the thick end will be the thick end. You've got a bank of 2D shapes down here, so whatever that might be, very basic stuff that you can use, but again, when you've got some work on here, you can be highlighting, making notes, using these arrows to label different components, things like that. The next one along is the select tool, or the lasso, and this is a really good tool as well. So if I want to select that arrow, perhaps I wanted to move it, make it to a different note, highlight it maybe in red, there's lots of different bits and bobs that I can go through on here for you, so you can cut, copy, paste, all sorts of stuff, invert the image, but for now we just want to move that around, put it there and highlight that. And you can do that with multiple objects as well, it doesn't just have to be that. Anything you highlight with that lasso, you can move around, shrink, move out of the way, bring back if you need to. Next one along is the eraser. So two different options on the eraser. You've got the standard eraser, so it'll just rub out whatever the little dot touches. Or the second option is if you put a line through it, it will, not a triangle, it'll get rid of that. So this, I should mention the 2D shapes, so they'll stick around until you clear the whiteboard, or you want to select them with the selector tool and delete them, which is good. So if you've got all your arrows on and you just want to erase it for the next class, all the answers, it'll keep all the arrows for you, but it'll get rid of the writing, which is really good. So yeah, so this second eraser, if you put a line through it, whatever the line touches, it'll then delete. And then at the end here, you've got the clear whiteboard. So if you want to get rid of all your notes and start again, we'll clear that off. Let's say we don't want to do that, just keep it in back. Loads of steps to go back with, and it'll bring all your work back. Speaking of work, so if you've got, a lot of people use sort of PowerPoint presentations and things like that. So there's a couple of different ways you can use those. So if you were on your inbuilt PC and you were going through a PowerPoint presentation, to get that information into the whiteboard or make notes over it, there's a couple of different ways. So if you press the annotate button, you can, like I say, it brings up these basic tools at the whiteboard. You can make notes over this. Bit better. You can make notes over this as usual. That was your PowerPoint presentation. And then save that as a screenshot. Or you've got this crop tool down here. So you can use that to pull information. Again, no matter what screen you're on, so it might be a PowerPoint presentation, it might just be some notes that you're making over the browser, and you want to pull that into the whiteboard and make more notes on it. You press that second button there, and that'll pull it directly into your lesson that you're going through on your whiteboard, and you can resize it, reshape it. Again, multiple different options down here. Move it along and make some notes over the top of this. It's really easy to get information from wherever it might be, the PC, your PowerPoint, the browser, any screen that you're on, and pull it directly into this whiteboard and allow you to manipulate it and make notes on it. It's really clever and really easy to use. So those are sort of the main middle features that we've got on the whiteboard, and then things get really interesting down here with these three dots. So in here, there's some I won't go through them all for you today because you'll be falling asleep and we'll be here for an hour and a half. There's so many features. But the main three that I tend to use is this, so the document PDF for one. And what that'll do is, so say you've got a PowerPoint saved in, I've just got to plug my USB stick in, that would help. There we go, I'll plug that in, I'll come back to that in a second. So remember that home button I was telling you about if you get a little bit lost, hit the home button, back to it, go back to the whiteboard. So if you use these three dots down here, you've got search image and search web. So search image, if we were doing a lesson on, there you go, the USB is plugged in now. So you can import if you've got a PowerPoint, you save it as a PDF just like I've done, you can import that as a PDF directly into the whiteboard, which will allow you to do all the things that we've just been through. So use that, use the highlighter, make labels using the arrows wherever it might be, you know, scribble around. It's really, really useful, and it imports them all as separate pages as well. So if you want to flick through different pages, Teams has gone off. If you want to flick through different pages, you can either use these arrows to navigate through, or if you want to jump to a page, perhaps you've imported something that's got, you know, 20 pages in there, you don't want to be constantly flicking through. So if you press and hold and release, you can select, so you want to jump back to that one, which ones you want to jump to. So jump to this one here, jump back to that one there. Just saves you going around and constantly flicking through using the arrows, which is really time saving. So now I've imported my document, I've got my lesson all here. We're going through it, and perhaps students have got a few questions, but you want to add a bit more content to it. So these two tools down here, using the three dots, you can search an image, which there's one I searched there. So you've got the moon. We don't want that though. We want volcano. Let's have one of those on there. So it's a Google Safe Search. It will bring up all safe images from off the web, and you can add as many as you want in when it gets going. There we go. Internet's a little bit slow today. So it'll add, you can add as many as you want in all at once. So I'll add that one. You can, you know, add any of these in that you like. And once that's added in there, just like adding any other photo or screenshot, you can move that around, manipulate it, just put that there. And, you know, add as much content as you want. You might get some questions from a student, well, what does this mean or what does that mean? And you want to show them Really easy to use that and add the image in. However, the bottom one is a search web. So what that'll do is it'll open up a live browser in the whiteboard. So again, if you want to add a bit more content, perhaps you've got, you want to add something about the ash cloud. There we go. And you want to show the students what the ash cloud was. Because this is a live browser, you can just find one of the YouTube videos as the ash cloud and you can show them. So it's not an embedded YouTube video, so you can't add this into the whiteboard, unfortunately, and have it playing. However, you know, if you don't want that playing constantly distracting the students anyway, so if you've got it on here as a sort of live browser, you can just add that in, let the video play, and let it roll. Again, when our internet decides to pick up, let's try that again. You add that in, keep the video playing, and like I say, you can show the students volcanic. Ash cloud. Let's try that again. So that'll bring up that. Find yourself a video using YouTube. Okay. And that'll show you. You can keep that video playing all the way through. It's deciding to have a bit of a moment our internet. Oh, there we go. It's so late at night, it's had a long day. But you can use that, like I say, as a really good tool to show the students a little bit of content. Just, right, watch this 2-minute video on this is a volcanic ash cloud, this is the effect it had on the surrounding areas, etc., etc. So it's a really powerful little tool when your internet's working to the speed that it should be. You can also use this crop button in the top corner. So move that around there. Whatever information you might want to pull from that. Maybe it's the image of that up there. Hit that tip button, and again, that will pull it directly into your whiteboard for you. And you can move that around, shape that, add notes to it. So these 3 dots down here, really powerful. I mean, those 3 tools on their own, really powerful teaching tools. You can add certain files in, so you can add a cloud drive. Again, I'll show you that in the file commander a little bit later on. You've got various little tools down here. You've got visualizers you can plug in, rulers, protractors, etc. And different canvases you can have, so you can have split mode. It will split the screen in half. 2 students up here at once, and you can have them making notes on the whichever ones they want to. So, after you've done all this, you can either, again, you can clear the whiteboard, get rid of all your notes, everything that you've done, or you want to save it and you want to send it to the students or yourself or your teaching assistant. The quickest and simplest way to do that would be using this QR code down here. So if you want to export that as a PDF, you've got students that use iPads, Chromebooks, iPhones, whatever they use in class. You can walk up to that, scan that with your camera, and it will send you a PDF directly. And it's all your work, all your pages, nice and easy as they walk out of the classroom. If you don't want to do that, or perhaps you haven't got students that use devices, then you've got the option to save it to USB, because you've got that plugged in. Or you can share it in various ways. So you can save it as a picture into your pictures on the board. Bluetooth, as you can see, save it to your file commander, email it to whoever it might be if you've got an email group set up, or directly to Teams. I know there are schools out there that use Teams at the moment and are using that to share out to students with a lot of homework in. You can send it directly to Teams. If you choose to save it with to the file commander, again, it will bring up a couple of different options for you to save it to. The one teachers use most that I've found is the cloud account. So once you've got a cloud account added up here, you can add Google Drive, Dropbox, OneDrive, whatever it is you guys use. You can pull information directly from that as well into the whiteboard, or you can save it up to your cloud. So really powerful bit of kit. But once you've saved that or shared it, if you don't want to do that and you want to get rid of your work, back to these pages here, as well as using them to navigate around with, you can also select various pages, whatever they might be. So we don't want to keep that one because we made no notes. We don't want to keep that information because it's irrelevant. You can delete those pages, get rid of them. Keep these 3. They're the ones we want to share, and you can use that share button again, or your USB button to save it to your USB drive, or save it up, like I say again, using that same options, save it to your cloud. So you're not going to bombard your students with maybe notes that you've made that you don't want to send them, or information that's irrelevant. You can just select exactly what you want them to have and exactly what you want them to take home with you without going through the rest of your lesson. That pretty much covers it for the whiteboard, other than maths teachers, music teachers, they love this part. So default settings, down using this cog here in the right hand side, you can select various backgrounds that you want to use. So maths teachers have got all these squares, lines, musical annotations, all sorts of stuff. The PE teacher can do team tactics, etc. So a lot of people love the squares. And then you might have dyslexic children, we've got that colour there, which will help them. So every time you make a new page now, it'll bring up squares in that colour. If you can see the colour, hopefully you can. And every time you add a new page now, it'll bring that up. If you want to change that again, it's this cog down here, and it's all through the default settings. Whilst we're on the settings, the object recognition, so the thick and the thin end of the pen, if for any reason whatsoever you don't want to use that, then you can turn it off in here as well, and you can just use it to write with a fine pen. But personally, I think it's a really powerful bit of kit, that. But, okay, and that pretty much covers it for the whiteboard. So if you use that button again to go back to our home menu, that'll bring us back to here. The home menu's fully customizable as well. So, you know, if we didn't use Windows, for example, we didn't have a PC built in, but instead we wanted to add a HDMI cable, we can get rid of that, and we can add HDMI 1 in there instead. You can move all these around, add various different ones, get rid of them. Whatever you use the most of, you can add this board to, you know, be sort of personalised to you, if you like. So whatever it might be, if you don't use the file commander or the browser, you can get rid of those and add whatever you want on there. There's loads of different options when you get into it. Obviously, you've got the browser down here. This is your file commander that I mentioned. So this is where it'll save all your documents into the screen's own internal hard drive. If you don't want that data on there, you can, in the settings, choose it to delete all the data every day, month, week, year, or never if you want. However you guys want to do it. I know each sort of IT guy is different with what they want to save on the board or not. So you can change it in the settings to get rid of it. And again, going through here, you've got loads of different options of what you can save on here and what you connect it to. Add your cloud account, like I say, pull everything directly from your cloud onto the screen. Your file command is basically your My Documents of the screen, effectively. Other than that, we've got the various different apps that you guys can use. Over here, Newline have actually got an app store now as well. Loads of different apps inside it, so they're adding constantly as well. So this is fairly new. If you've done the update, you'll see this app store on there. It's fairly new, and they're constantly adding apps and content on, loads of different stuff aimed at education. And they've also added these classroom tools, which I'll run through briefly as well. So loads of different bits on here. Main ones I'm guessing you guys want to use is the spotlight. So if you want to keep people focused on what you're talking about, or keep the pupils focused on a bit of work, you can expand and contract that, or get rid of it. So you've got the timer, if you want to get random student stuff and you want to select them, you've got the dice. So you've got all sorts of different classroom tools there that you can run through. Really useful stuff. But again, I'm not going to run through sort of every feature for you that the board's got to offer, but hopefully I've run through stuff and something that you've picked up from that or learnt from it that's going to help you. But if you guys do have any questions, stick them in the comments box now. We're going to be getting back to everyone just after the webinar, because there's quite a few people signed up for it. So answering everyone's questions. You can see there's quite a few pinging up at the moment, so we'll get back to them using the comments box and your email address. But I'll also be sending out my personal email as well around. So if you've got any questions, email me directly. I'll either send you the solution or I'll film you a quick minute clip, 2-minute clip, and I'll send that to you and yeah, run through that for you. So yeah, thanks guys, thanks very much for watching. Hopefully it's been a help, and yeah, I'll speak to you soon. Cheers.